Welcome to art. My name is Miss Ball, and I'm going to be your art teacher this year. I can't wait to get started making all of our wonderful projects. But before we dive in, there's a few things we need to go over. Here are our classroom rules. As you can see, our rules are special. They spell out a word. What's that word? Artist. Our rules spell out the word artist because in this class, everyone is an artist. Our first rule is the letter A, which means always do your best. Our second rule is the letter R, which means respect each other and the teacher. Our third rule is the letter T, which means take care of your supplies. Our fourth rule is the letter I, which means inside voices, please. Our fifth rule is the letter S, which means stay on task. And our last rule, number 6, is also a letter T, but this one means we turn our mistakes into masterpieces. Now that we've learned our rules for art, we're going to listen to a story, and then we're going to watch a short video that will help us learn how to be better artists, and then we're going to create some art to help us remember our classroom rules. It's story time, so get comfy, sit back, relax, and listen to this story, Ish by Peter H. Reynolds.
Ish by Peter H. Reynolds. Ish. Ramon loved to draw. Anytime, anything, anywhere. One day, Ramon was drawing a vase of flowers. His brother, Leon, leaned over his shoulder. Leon burst out laughing. "What is that?" he asked. Ramon could not even answer. He just crumpled up the drawing and threw it across the room. Leon's laughter haunted Ramon. He kept trying to make his drawings look right, but they never did. After many months and many crumpled sheets of paper, Ramon put his pencil down. "I'm done." Marisol, his sister, was watching him. "What do you want?" he snapped. "I was watching you draw," she said. Ramon sneered. "I'm not drawing. Go away." Marisol ran away, but not before picking up a crumpled sheet of paper. "Hey, come back here with that." Ramon raced after Marisol, up the hall and into her room. He was about to yell, but fell silent when he saw his sister's walls. He stared at the crumpled gallery. "This is one of my favorites," Marisol said, pointing. "That was supposed to be a vase of flowers," Ramon said, "but it doesn't look like one." "Well, it looks vase-ish," she exclaimed. "Vase-ish?" Ramon looked closer. Then he studied all the drawings on Marisol's walls and began to see them in a whole new way. "They do look ish," he said. Ramon felt light and energized. Thinking ishly allowed his ideas to flow freely. He began to draw what he felt, loose lines, quickly springing out, without worry. Ramon once again drew and drew the world around him. Making an ish drawing felt wonderful. He filled his journals. Tree-ish, house-ish, boat-ish, afternoon-ish, fish-ish, sun-ish. Ramon realized he could draw his ish fillings too. Peace-ish, silly-ish, excited-ish. His ish art inspired ish writing. He wasn't sure if he was writing poems, but he knew they were poem-ish. Ponder, pond, ponder, dream, wander. Pond, pond, yond, yond, gleam, wander, Ramon. One spring morning, Ramon had a wonderful feeling. It was a feeling that even ish words and ish drawings could not capture. He decided not to capture it. Instead, he simply savored it. And Ramon lived ishfully ever after. The end-ish.
I hope you enjoyed Ish by Peter H. Reynolds. In our story, Ramon loved to draw, but his brother Leon didn't think his drawings were very good. But who did? That's right, his sister Marisol loved his drawings enough to dig them out of the trash and hang them on her wall. But did she think they were perfect? Not at all. She told Ramon they looked ish. But did Ramon have fun drawing? You bet he did. Do you all like to draw? I love to draw, and I hope you do too. Are your drawings going to look perfect every time? No, no one is perfect all of the time. But that's the best part about art. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about your work. As long as you love it, that's what's important. So in my class, we're all artists and we're all learning. So our drawings are perfectly fine being ish drawings. Now that we listened to our story, it's time to watch a video about an artist named Austin. Listen carefully to figure out what lesson Austin learned at the end of his project.
This is a story called Austin's Butterfly. And it's a true story about a first grade boy, and his name is Austin, and he goes to school, or used to go to school, in a town called Boise, Idaho. And in his class in Boise, Idaho, they were studying butterflies, and he had to do a project. His job in first grade was to draw a butterfly, and this is the butterfly that he picked. Austin had to use this photograph as his model, and he had to draw an accurate scientific drawing of this butterfly. This is called a tiger swallowtail.
I knew it!
Can you tell, Toby, why it's called tiger?
Because it kind of has the stripes of the tiger right there.
Good. So here was Austin's job. He was supposed to do a scientific drawing of that butterfly. But remember, Austin was only in first grade. And you know what he did? He forgot to look like a scientist carefully. He got his paper and he just started to draw the image of a butterfly that he had in his head. And he wasn't looking like a scientist, and so this is what he drew.
Whoa.
It's not bad, and it is a butterfly, but does it look exactly like this?
No.
No, it doesn't yet. It doesn't look exactly like this yet. Luckily, this wasn't a regular school where Austin went. It was an expeditionary learning school, just like Przumscott School. And so they didn't look at this and say, "Good, Austin, you're done." They said, "Austin, good start. Now we can start giving you critique so you can do a second draft and make it better, and a third draft and make it better, and you can make it much, much closer to this." And he was ready to go. All of the first graders in his critique group sat on the floor like you guys are, and they decided to split their advice into two kinds. First, just the shape of the wings. And then when the shape was right, they'd give him advice about the pattern inside the wings. Alia, what would you say?
You can make it much pointier.
Good. These wings could be much pointier. Who else would add something? Atak, what would you say?
How about the angle? Because, not to be mean about
Yes.
the angle, it's just not exact, so...
Okay, so show me. Come on up here, Atak. Show me what you would ask him to do slightly differently.
like to make it a little longer,
Longer where? Draw where you would do it.
right there.
Okay, so pull this out longer.
Yeah.
That's very specific, Atak. Thank you. Jamila, what would you say?
It's like triangle.
Good. Jamila, I love that. So you're saying more like a triangle shape. And I agree. Well, you know what? Those first graders came up with most of those same ideas. And you know what Austin said? He said, "Okay, I'll go try." And he went back to his seat and he drew this.
Wow.
Does this look more like a triangle?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he go out further, like Atak was suggesting?
Yeah.
Did he add some jaggedness here,
Yes.
like Cindy? Did he get rid of that bottom thing?
Yes.
So he did listen to his friends, and he made it better. It's not perfect. Toby, what would you say?
I'd say don't put those little tail things so pointed in. I'd say put them more pointed down.
Good. Okay, and Ethan, what would you say?
I think you should make the wings like
this, not like just like.
Okay, he listened to his friends and they said, this is really a lot better, Austin. That second draft really is better.
Yeah, maybe you can make a third one.
Good, maybe he could make a third draft. And so he did this draft.
That's his third draft.
That's his third draft, Hadley. That's just right. Elijah, what do you notice there?
Well, one wing's more pointed than the other, and that side is a little bit higher than the others.
Good. Coburn?
Right here, it doesn't have the inside thing still.
Ah, okay. Needs a little bit more of that notch. So, do you think maybe he should do a fourth draft?
Yeah.
Well, that's just what he said. He said, shoot, okay, I got round again. I'll go back and do a fourth draft. He listened. Does it look more even like Elijah was suggesting?
Yes.
Yeah, and does it look like it's coming out a little sharper, like Cindy was suggesting? And like Attack was saying, it's a little, the angle looks a little better. So now Austin was feeling really good. He said, am I ready to add some pattern? And they said, okay, why don't you try adding some of the pattern? And he did.
He's good at it. He is so good.
And then they said, Austin, you're ready for color.
Really?
Let's look at his last draft. And what do you think? Did it come out really good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually looks
Let me show you where he started, just to give you a quick reminder. And then, what do you think about how much progress he made? And Tak, what would you say about his progress?
He made like a lot of progress. He persevered doing it. His friends were honest with him.
What was it about the kinds of advice that they gave that allowed him to get better each time? Hassan?
Well, they told him what was wrong about it.
Did they say it's just wrong, or were they more specific than that?
They were more specific, but they weren't mean about it.
Great.
He
Hadley.
made 6 drafts.
And so is that something that other kids should learn from? What should we learn from that?
He can make other drafts if it's not right.
Good. So if it's not right, you can keep doing more drafts to make it better.
You just don't use things in your head. You want to use a sharp eye.
Good. He used the eyes of a scientist. Great.
I hope you enjoyed listening to the story of Austin's butterfly. Did Austin's first drawing of the butterfly look perfect? Was it an ish drawing? What did Austin have to do to get his butterfly drawing to look more like the photograph? Did he have to practice and keep trying over and over again? Is that something we can do as well? It sure is. When we're drawing in art class, it's okay for our first attempt to be an ish drawing, but you can always go home and keep practicing. And guess what? The more you draw, the better you're going to get. I bet by the time this school year is over, you're going to be amazed at how much your artwork is going to improve. But remember, the whole point of art class is to have fun. So don't worry if your drawings are ish drawings. That's perfectly okay with me. Now that we've listened to Ish by Peter H. Reynolds and watched Austin's butterfly, it's time for us to create some art. We're going to be making some art to help us remember our classroom rules. So listen carefully and follow along with me. Okay, before we get started with our project, we are going to take a look at the supplies we have. Now, if you remember, rule number 3, the first T in artist, is take care of your supplies. Now, because of the virus, we are not allowed to share supplies like you may have done in the past. And so what I have done is I have made everyone a little baggie. Now, this is my baggie. As you can see, I've got my name written on a piece of tape in my baggie. I don't want to peel this tape because I want to make sure that when I come back next week and I give you guys your baggie, that I know this one is mine and I'll know which one is yours. Now, in your baggie, you are going to have markers and crayons. Now, these are the markers and crayons we are going to be using for art this year. So, these markers and crayons are going to stay in this baggie. I will give them out to you when I come into class. I will take them up at the end of class and I'll bring them back next week. So, what we're going to do when we are ready to use our supplies and we open our bag, are we just going to take everything and dump them out? No, we're only going to take out what we're using at a time. So if I ask you to get out your red marker, then that's all you're going to get out. When we are done with our red marker, one thing we need to do is we need to make sure we snap that cap. Listen, hear that snap? Now, if it's hard for you to snap that cap, you can always put the cap on your table, put your marker down, and press, and then you can still hear that snap. Now, you want to make sure that your cap is snapped on your marker, or else it's going to dry out and then you won't have a marker for next time. So when we are done with one thing, we put it back in our bag, and then we can get out the next thing we need. Say, for instance, we need our red crayon. We get our red crayon. Now, one thing about our supplies, are we allowed to share our supplies with anyone else? No, that's why it has your name on it. It's got your name on it because these are your supplies and only your supplies, okay? So while we are working, we only get one thing out at a time, whether that's a marker or a crayon, whatever I ask you to get. You need to get the correct color. Once we're done, you put it back in your bag, and then it's ready to go for next week. At the end of class, if you can, you're going to zip your bag closed, run your finger along that zipper, and then I will come and pick up your bags and put them back in the bin so that they'll be ready for next week. So remember, take care of your supplies, snap your caps on your markers, only get out one marker or crayon at a time, and then put them right back in when you're done. And do not share your supplies with anyone else. Now that we've listened to our story and watched the video about Austin's butterfly, it's time to start our project. So, first thing we need to do on any paper that we get, whether it's a blank sheet of paper or a handout like this, up at the top, we write our name, N-A-M-E. So, get your pencil and write your name at the top of your paper. And once you've got your name written on it, that's all we need our pencils for, so you can put those away. And now you've got your supplies, crayons, and markers. So we're going to go through and we are going to go over our rules again and color our project. So we have our word that our rules spell out, which is artist, because we're all artists. So we are going to be coloring these like the rainbow. And we learned about the rainbow last year. So we are going to start with a red marker because that is the first color in our rainbow. So we're going to start with a red marker. And just like we did last year, we are going to outline the first A, that first letter. So we go around the black line. And then these little symbols down here, they're really small. So we are just going to color them in with a marker. So the A means always do our best. And if you do your best on work, whatever it is, whether it's reading or math or art, you always get a check mark for doing a good job. So we always do our best and we'll get a check mark. So we're just going to color that in with our red marker. So our check mark's colored in and we outlined our A. So once you have finished that, we put our marker back in the bag. And now we get out our red crayon. Red crayon. And we're just going to color in the A. Because good artists always do their best.
Okay. So finish coloring that in, and then when you're done, you put your crayon back up, and we're ready for our next color. So our next color in the rainbow is going to be orange. So we start with our orange marker, and our next letter is R. And R means we respect each other and the teacher. So below our R, we've got a picture of a little hand, like a raised hand up in the air, because if you're being respectful, you raise your hand and wait for the teacher to call on you. And this also reminds us that we take turns talking. So if I'm talking, you guys aren't talking. But if you're talking, nobody else needs to be talking either. We all need to be listening. So you're going to take your orange marker, and again, we're going to go around the black line of the R, outlining it in orange. And then the hand, we are just going to color it in with our marker because it's little. And remember, this hand reminds us to respect each other and the teacher, R. So when you're done with your marker, oh, one thing we haven't talked about, when you're done with your marker, you snap that cap. Don't forget to snap your cap so it doesn't dry out. Put your marker up, find your orange crayon, and we're going to color in that R. Okay, so when we're done with that, orange crayon goes back up, and now we're ready for our third rule, which is the first T. Now this T means we take care of our supplies, our markers and crayons and pencils and erasers and our paper, all the supplies we use for art. So this one is going to be yellow. Now, the little symbol below our T is a picture of a marker because that reminds us to take care of our supplies. So when you're ready, go ahead and outline your T. And then just color in the whole marker. We're just going to color in the whole marker. And it's okay if it turns a little dark. If the ink of the black bleeds a little bit, it's fine. And we don't have to make it look exactly like this one. But don't forget, when you're done, snap that cap, put your marker away, and then you need to get out your yellow crayon. And we are going to color in the T. And remember, this T means we take care of our supplies. Take care of our supplies. Okay, so now we've got the A, the R, and the T, red, orange, and yellow. So when we're done with our yellow crayon, we put it away. And then we get out our next color in the rainbow, which is green. So we're gonna start with our green marker. Green marker. And this letter is the letter I. And I means inside voices, please. So I have put the mute button that I'm sure you guys have seen on a phone or a tablet or a computer. And when you see it's a little microphone with the little sound waves and there's a line through it. And when you've got the line through it, that means there's no sound at all. It's really, really quiet. So that's the symbol that reminds us, I, inside voices, please. So take your green marker and you are going to trace around the black outline of our I. And then we're going to color in the little microphone down there. And when you're done, snap that cap, put your marker away, and we're ready for a green crayon. Ready for a green crayon. And we're going to color in the eye, and it's going to be green. Inside, voices, please. Okay, and when you're done, your green crayon goes back up, and we're ready for the next letter of the word artist, which is an S. And S means we stay on task, which means we need to stay busy. So if we're supposed to be coloring, because right now you're supposed to be coloring along with me, are you supposed to be talking to your neighbors? Are you supposed to be playing with your markers? Are you supposed to be tying your shoes, looking out the window? Nope, you're supposed to be paying attention and following along. So the symbol for this one is a piece of paper and a pencil to remind us that we need to stay busy, stay on task. So this color is going to be blue. So I'm going to start with my blue marker, and I'm going to outline my S. And then I'm going to outline this piece of paper and the pencil. Well, at least I'm going to outline the paper, and then I'm going to color in the pencil. So color in the pencil, but just outline the paper, because the paper is pretty big, so we can color it with a crayon. So we outline the paper, color in the pencil, outline the S, and then when we're done with our marker, snap that cap, put your marker up, and then find your blue crayon. Blue crayon. And we're going to color in our S. And then we're going to color our sheet of paper blue. Our piece of paper and pencil reminds us we stay on task. We stay busy. Don't get distracted. Okay, so we're almost finished. Almost finished with our rules. We got one more left, one letter. When you're done with your crayon, you put it back up. Now, the last letter of the word artist is T. It's the second T, because we already got this one for take care of our supplies. This T means we turn our mistakes into masterpieces. Now, the symbol I chose for this one is a butterfly. And I picked this one because of the video we watched, Austin's Butterfly. And in that video, we learned that Austin kept trying and trying until he got his picture to look the way he wanted, okay? He didn't really have a mistake, but he did turn it into a masterpiece. But in our class, some of the things we can do to turn our mistakes into masterpieces is there's three things. We can either erase, if we're using a pencil, we can erase and try again, or we can turn it into something else. So if I'm trying to draw a butterfly, but it actually looks more like a caterpillar, then can I just turn it into a caterpillar? Absolutely. And then I can draw a butterfly beside it. I can try again. Or one other thing, if we're doing a blank sheet of paper and drawing something with our pencils and we've already tried erasing, we've already tried turning it into something else, we can always turn our paper over on the back and start again. So the last T is to turn our mistakes into masterpieces, and the butterfly reminds us of Austin's butterfly and the masterpiece he created. So the last color of our rainbow is purple or violet. And if you look at your marker, it actually says violet, purple. It's the same color, two different names. So again, we are going to outline that T with our purple marker. And then we're going to outline our butterfly because he's big enough that we can color in with a crayon. So we're going to outline our butterfly with purple. And then when I'm done, I snap that cap, put my marker up, and then I need a purple crayon. And then I'm going to color in my T. And I'm going to color in my butterfly. And now I'm going to put my crayon up. And once I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close up my bag. Just going to run my fingers across that zipper, and then I'm ready for my bag to be put away for next time. And I have a finished picture that's got the word artist and our different symbols in our rainbow colors. So let's go through them one more time. So if you're not finished, keep coloring. I'm going to leave this up for another minute or two while we go over our rules again, and you can finish coloring. So our first rule, A, we always do our best. That check mark reminds us to always do our best. R, we respect each other and the teacher. Remember, we raise our hands and don't talk over people, one person talking at a time. Respect. T, we take care of our supplies. Make sure the lids are snapped on your markers and make sure everything is back in your bag, and don't break up your erasers or poke them with pencils. We got to take care of our supplies. I, inside voices please. Remember, this is a mute button like on a computer or a phone or a tablet. And with that line through it, it means it's quiet. We don't hear any sound. Inside voices. We also have S, which means we are staying on task, staying busy. So our paper and pencil reminds us to stay busy, not to be goofing off or playing around. We got to listen and get our work done so that we can create a masterpiece, which our last letter means we turn our mistakes into masterpieces. Now remember, there's 3 ways we can do that. We can erase it, we can turn it into something else, or we can turn our paper over and start again. And our butterfly down here reminds us of Austin's butterfly and how he kept trying and trying until he got his picture to look just the way he wanted it to. So these are the rules that we are going to be working under this year, and we've got a lot of fun projects. So I hope you guys had fun, and until next time.